15 engineers attempted and failed, yet his caretaker solved it in just 30 seconds, what the single-father CEO chose to do afterward. The sleek glass meeting room at Sterling Motors hummed with restless frustration. 15 of the company's finest engineers surrounded the main workstation, their faces etched with the exhaustion of 3 weeks spent chasing a software glitch that threatened to postpone their groundbreaking electric vehicle launch by half a year. Ethan Sterling, CEO and devoted father of 6-year-old Emma, paced behind the group with measured tension. At 34, Ethan had transformed Sterling Motors from a garage project into one of the most forward-thinking car manufacturers in the nation. But today, he felt defeated by endless streams of code that refused to respond. "Run the diagnostic again," instructed Dr. Marcus Lee, the chief software architect, his voice weighted with the fatigue of someone who had been staring at monitors. Far too long. Maybe something slipped past us in the third-level integration protocols. The issue was as baffling as it was vital. Their advanced driver assistance module performed flawlessly on its own, but the instant it interacted with the vehicle's central system, everything collapsed. 15 brilliant minds had poured countless hours into dissecting every single line of code, each connection, every conceivable fault, and they were nearer to finding an answer. "Sir," Ethan's assistant approached at his side. "It's nearly 6 o'clock. Should I call Miss Carter and let her know you'll be late again?" Ethan checked his watch, feeling the heavy strain of balancing fatherhood with leading a corporation. "Actually, ask her to bring Emma here. I promised her dinner tonight, and at this pace, I'll be stuck until midnight." 20 minutes later, the conference room door opened quietly. A woman noticeably out of place among a crowd of engineers stepped inside. Claire Carter appeared to be in her late 20s, her blonde hair neatly braided back, wearing a plain, white blouse that had seen better days. Yellow cleaning gloves shielded her hands, and she moved with the efficient composure of someone accustomed to caring for an energetic 6-year-old. "Daddy!" Emma Sterling rushed in behind her nanny, running into Ethan's arms with unstoppable joy. "Claire and I bake cookies, and we saved the ones with extra chocolate chips for you." Ethan's face softened instantly as he lifted his daughter, momentarily forgetting the crisis that had consumed his entire day. "That sounds wonderful, sweetheart. Let Daddy finish this meeting, and then we'll eat dinner and have cookies together." "What's everyone staring at?" Emma asked with the natural curiosity children brought everywhere. "We're trying to repair something very complicated," Ethan explained warmly. "Kind of like when your favorite toy breaks, only much harder to understand." Claire remained quietly near the doorway, holding Emma's backpack, clearly avoiding disturbing the serious discussion. But Ethan noticed how her eyes drifted toward the monitor showing the faulty code, her expression shifting from polite detachment to sharp concentration. "Miss Carter," Ethan said, "please don't feel like you have to wait. I know you probably have evening plans." "Actually, Mr. Sterling," Claire replied softly, "if you don't mind me asking, what exactly is the problem you're all working on?" Dr. Lee glanced up from his keyboard with barely hidden irritation. "It's a software integration malfunction," he explained, in a tone used for describing technical issues to someone unlikely to understand. "The autonomous system crashes each time it attempts communication with the main vehicle network." Claire nodded slowly, her eyes returning to the displayed code. "May I take a look?" The question lingered in the room, creating an uneasy pause as 15 highly trained engineers processed the idea that the nanny was requesting to examine their project. Ethan noticed the exchanged smirks, the faint smiles suggesting his team believed Emma's caregiver was being bold. "Claire," Ethan said gently, "this is very specialized work. We've had our best experts on it for weeks." "I understand," Claire answered calmly, her voice carrying a quiet certainty that made Ethan study her more closely. "But sometimes, Fresh eyes notice things that familiarity overlooks. Would it hurt to let me try? Just for a moment? Ethan looked at this woman who had cared for his daughter for 8 months. He realized that despite spending nearly every evening in her presence, he knew little of her past beyond her glowing references and Emma's clear affection for her. "Of course," Ethan said, gesturing toward the workstation. "Please." The engineers stepped aside with condescending courtesy, expecting a brief interruption before they returned to their serious work. Claire approached the monitor, her gloved hands moving to the keyboard with a familiarity that instantly caught Ethan's eye. For half a minute, she studied the code in silence, scanning with intense focus. Then, without hesitation, she began typing. Her fingers moved with fluid skill, like someone who thought in code as naturally as speech. Within moments, she had navigated to a section the engineers had examined countless times. But her focus was fixed on something specific, something they had missed. "Here," Claire said quietly, pointing to a line, "you've got a memory allocation conflict in the handshake protocol. The autonomous system tries to use the same memory space reserved by the network's security functions. They're basically clashing over the same resource." Dr. Lee leaned forward, frowning. "But we've checked memory allocation dozens of times. The addresses are clearly defined. They shouldn't overlap." "They don't in static allocation," Claire explained patiently. "But during dynamic scaling, when system load rises, the autonomous functions expand their memory footprint. That's when they collide with the security protocols." She made several swift keystrokes, inserting what looked like a simple buffer between the two systems. "Try it now." The room went completely still as Dr. Lee initiated the diagnostic. All eyes watched as the two systems connected, and for the first time in 3 weeks, worked seamlessly, with no errors. "That's impossible," one junior engineer whispered. "We've reviewed that section hundreds of times." "Sometimes," Claire said gently, "we get so caught up in complex possibilities that we overlook the simple fixes. I learned that the hard way." Ethan stared at this woman who had just solved in 30 seconds what his entire engineering staff had failed to in weeks. "Claire," he asked slowly, "how did you know to check there?" Claire's cheeks flushed slightly as she seemed suddenly aware she was still wearing cleaning gloves in a room full of professionals. "I have some background in software development," she admitted modestly. The memory allocation pattern looked familiar. "Some background," Dr. Lee repeated, his voice laced with respect. "Miss Carter, what sort of software experience do you have?" Claire hesitated, uncomfortable with the sudden attention. "I used to work in autonomous vehicle programming, actually, before I became Emma's nanny." The revelation hung in the air like a challenge to their assumptions about expertise and credentials. Ethan's perspective shifted as he realized that the woman caring for his child was apparently more capable of solving his company's toughest challenges than his entire staff. "You worked in autonomous vehicle programming?" Ethan repeated, his mind racing. "Where, when, and why are you working as a nanny now?" "I was lead programmer for the Horizon project at Technova Industries," Claire said quietly. "We were building the next generation of self-driving technology until the company collapsed and the program was shut down 2 years ago." Ethan's breath caught. The Horizon project had been legendary, a cutting-edge initiative expected to transform autonomous driving before disappearing. "You were lead programmer for Horizon?" Dr. Lee's voice carried both awe and disbelief. "That was some of the most advanced AI integration ever attempted." "It was," Claire agreed, softly. "But when Technova folded, our entire team became essentially unemployable. The project was too specialized, and industry rumors about why it failed destroyed our chances of being hired elsewhere." "So you took the nanny job because you needed work?" Ethan asked carefully. "I became a nanny because I love working." With kids, and because Emma reminded me that some things matter more than perfect code, Claire said firmly. I hold a master's in computer science and 5 years of autonomous programming experience, but I also have a 6-year-old who thinks I'm the best cookie maker in the world. Both make me who I am. The room fell into hushed silence as 15 engineers and a CEO processed what had just happened. Ethan looked at this remarkable woman who had been living in his home, caring for his child, and carrying the knowledge to solve his company's most urgent problems, all while wearing yellow gloves and worrying about story time. "Claire," Ethan said thoughtfully, "would you be open to another type of position here at Sterling Motors?" Claire glanced at Emma, who had been watching with wide-eyed wonder. "Mr. Sterling, I appreciate it," she said softly, "but Emma needs stability. She's already lost her mother, and switching caregivers would be hard for her." "Who said anything about switching caregivers?" Ethan responded quickly, his mind already racing. "What if we designed a role that let you do both, Chief of Autonomous Systems, with a schedule that ensures you're home when Emma finishes school?" That proposal changed not just Claire's career, but the culture of Sterling Motors. As Chief of Autonomous Systems, she combined technical genius with the patience and creativity gained from explaining ideas to a curious child. More importantly, she continued as Emma's caregiver, balancing homework, playdates, and cookies with groundbreaking innovation. 6 months later, when industry journals praised Sterling's autonomous breakthrough and their bold approach to work-life balance, they emphasized leadership strategy and engineering brilliance. But Ethan always smiled, knowing the truth was simpler, more human. Sometimes the best expertise comes not from impressive titles, but from those who understand that solving problems requires both knowledge and compassion. And often, the most valuable decisions arise when we recognize that brilliance can wear yellow gloves, measure success in working code, and in children who feel secure and loved. In a world that mistakes credentials for capability, Claire Carter had proven that the most innovative answers come from those who see differently, not because they lack knowledge, but because they know the most important systems are the ones that sustain human connection, growth, and the value of every gift.